So move-in dollars. Another important question is how much is it actually going to cost me to move in and secure a unit? So the short answer is 3 months. Most owners are going to ask for first month, last month, and security. Now, more and more landlords over the last few years have shifted over to the 1 month and 2 month security. The math is exactly the same, but instead of taking first month, last month's rent, and security, they're taking first month and 2 month security. The reason for that is that after the last crash that we had in 2008, there were so many rentals that were left vacant and properties that were unpaid for, or tenants that stopped paying rent due to the current situation. With 2 months security, a landlord essentially has a little bit more of a safety net in case anything happens. At the same time, it also ensures that the tenant keeps better care of the property, because now they know that they have 2 months of security that's being held as opposed to one. It's a lot easier to walk away from 1 month's rent as opposed to 2 months rent. The numbers just add up. So the math works out the same. Landlords are just taking it in a different form. Now, what I've always suggested is, if you've had a great relationship with your landlord and you've always paid on time, when you get closer to the end of your lease, you can always ask if you can live out one of your deposits for the last month. That really depends on the relationship that you have with your landlord, but you have a very good chance of doing so. If you've had a good relationship and your payments have always been on time, you can even have them come in and do an inspection a little bit earlier so that they can see that you've kept the property intact. And in a lot of cases, that does work out. Now, rental communities are very different. Depending on what they're offering at the moment, their move-in dollars are going to be a lot less. So typically, they will always have the first month. It's usually prorated if you move in the middle of the month, or if you're moving in on the first, then you will pay the first month. A few $100s that they have in fees, for processing the application, for taking the application, an administrative fee, and then a security deposit. The security deposit greatly depends on your credit for rental communities. The higher your credit score, or the better your credit is, the less of a deposit you would have to pay. So in some cases, you can move in with a first month's rent and a few $100s in fees, depending on the type of program that they're running or incentives that they're giving at the moment, which again, I do expect them to be aggressive in the upcoming months due to everything that's going on. But so for a rental community, your move-in dollars would be less. But again, rental communities that are close to campus are typically on the higher end of the price point. So you're going to pay a little bit more on a monthly basis, but your move-in dollars could be less. And again, those will vary from one community to another. The only other fee that you will have aside from your 3 months moving in on the property will be an application fee. Every community will have an application, an association application that you need to fill out. Typically, that ranges between $100 and $150. Like I mentioned before, it can take a couple of weeks to come back and be approved, but those are all the funds that you will need. Upfront, when you secure a unit, if an offer is accepted, that first month's rent will be required within 24 to 48 hours. So that would either need to be expedited in some form or fashion, usually by a wire transfer, or overnight is probably the easiest and fastest way. The other remaining 2 months are not due until you actually move in. So for example, if you're looking for an August 1st move-in and we're processing this application at the beginning of July, application gets accepted at the beginning of July, the first month would be due. That would be due right away to be held in escrow. And then the remaining 2 months will not be due until August 1st, which is the day that the lease starts. So you do have some time in between to get that money together.